just for your record, is that first of all, kudos to you for doing this. Like one thing you all may not know about me and my work in this entirety is that I've always been the biggest advocate for professional development and workforce development. And the reason why is because I think I mentioned we ran programs for years, but it was under WIA, not WIOA, and all of that. And so, but we made professional development a priority. It just was something we just did not take lightly because this is a busy industry. And so it's easy to just get caught up into the day-to-day grind and not slow down and say, okay, let me pause and see if I can develop myself professionally a little bit. So we had monthly trainings for my staff every single month. We were able to squeeze out an hour or two, depending on how much time we had. And I think I mentioned too, it made us one of the top workforce programs in the country, both our youth and our adult programs. But it's because we just continually worked on developing ourselves. It doesn't mean we weren't competent, we couldn't do the job, but it just made it say, hey, you know what? And athletes train every day. Just even though they break world records, they go back, they laugh, they smile, they show us their Olympic gold, and the next week they go back to training. You know what I mean? It's like they're not sitting around saying, "Oh, look at me, I have a gold medal," And so they're going back so they can continue. So again, for those of you who don't know, this is Heshi. She's one of our trainers and coaches that's going to be working with me and saying hello to everyone. And just go ahead and say hi real quick, Heshi. We're gonna jump right in, but just say hello to everyone.
Hello, hi, nice to meet you all.
Yes, and so she's going to be sharing a quick piece on just empowerment from a career coach perspective, and she has a wealth of history and experience, I should say, doing this such. So let me do this. I want to pull up the PowerPoint if I can find it. Just 1 second. For some reason, it's not popping up. Hold on, just 1 second. Right. Huh. All right, let me see. So why is it starting there? Okay. All righty. All right. There we go. Now let's see if we can get this to work. There we go. Cool. Do y'all see that okay? Good. I just want to make sure. All right. And so I guess you recognize some of the folks in the picture there from the team. I like to do that. I think that's why you'll see me taking those pictures. I don't know, you're going to be in my presentation. So you never know if you may pop up in here at some point. But anyway, so we're going to go right into it. Don't forget what I shared from the moment I started the training, my grandmother's little statement. It's going to be all right, baby. If you weren't at the training, this doesn't have any meaning to you. But if you were, you know why I'm showing it to you.
I need more of those stickers, Coach D.
Yeah. Well, you give me your address and I'll send them to you. And I mean that. I'll send them up there. So make sure I get it, because we got a bunch of them. And you can share them with, I'll share them with different people. But I just want to make sure that we keep in mind that, with the day-to-day stressors of the work, it's going to be all right. Just don't get ourselves overwhelmed. Don't get ourselves wound up, because we have to be our best for ourselves as well as the people we serve and each other. So I think it's just important for us to not forget that. And you'll see my smiling grandmother in several of these follow-ups, because she changed my life. She's been gone for 20 something years, but she changed my life with this statement. And I live by it. I don't let things sweat me. I don't get frustrated. I'm not trying to say I'm perfect. Please don't. It's just that I know how to reel it in and not let it get too far out there. But that's because of my upbringing and how I was blessed to have a person in my life to help me understand that. So just keep in mind, it's going to be all right. Just keep in mind also, we did a lot of, again, this is a coaching, so we're kind of reiterating some of the things we shared during the training programs, but you're a dream team. And just like any sports team, you want to win. You know what I mean? Like, we want to win at impacting the lives of clients. They want to win Olympic gold medals, or they want to win Super Bowl trophies. Our trophies come from the people we serve and the beauty of what we all bring to the table with each other to help each other. And so it's nice to celebrate wins. This one organization I was working with, I had them like literally look at wins for like a month. It could be placing clients, it could be a new community partnership, it could be a variety of different things. And to their surprise, when they got together to talk about wins, it was overwhelming. They didn't realize they had so many because they spent so much time on the challenging things that they didn't realize they were doing good things too. so, so the dream team, in workforce development is designed for us to win, and that's to win at the game of, helping our clients achieve meaningful employment, as well as changing the quality of their lives, but then also for us to get the fulfillment and enjoyment of the fact that we're the ones helping them do as such. And I mentioned to you how my mother life was changed with workforce development, hence the reason I'm here today, because if it wasn't for her life changing, because of wonderful people like you all, I wouldn't be here teaching you today, because that changed my life. So anyway, so I want to mention this to you because I don't know if I clarified this when we were together. Keep in mind, my goal is to give you this professional development. A lot of it is around motivational interviewing and coaching, but there's going to be other things as well, but not to overwhelm you. If you remember, we talked about slow drip. We don't want to meet with you every week, or every other week, because now that's pulling you out of your workspace. And so it's going to be typically a once a month type of a interaction, and it's not going to be long. The longest time period is going to be when we train. So for instance, we're coming back in September, but it's not going to be a full day this time. It'll be about 3 hours. So so you'll be literally in and out. Again, we're just respecting your time. So, so we're going to conduct a bi-monthly live session like we did when we were there. And I just want to say thank y'all for that, because I really enjoyed my interaction with y'all when we were there too. I learned a lot about you all. Y'all some fun people over there. I did some pretty neat things there in Pennsylvania. That was pretty cool. And so, so we're going to do live sessions, but then we're going to do these 45 minutes, we're going to be off of this call. I promise you that. We're going to do 45-minute long follow-ups sessions. Do y'all remember the sheet I gave you where I mentioned we had oars and we had the spirit of Kate, that little red? Okay, yeah. And so I'm not gonna overemphasize it this time, but definitely for the next time, and some of you may have done the work. When we do those sheets, do the work, because the goal of the coaching is to come back and talk about, and I'm going to ask you in just a few moments, what did you learn? What did you use? What's working? What's not working? If you're not in a capacity in front of client facing, you may be just, leading, or you can talk about the team piece and pieces that you pulled from that. Okay. All right. So you have the OR sheet, I just mentioned that. And then today we're going to add some new information for you to work with as well. Okay. So I just want you to get an idea. It's literally will be a training, a coaching. There will be things that the project leads, which I know Bridget is one of them, will give to you that we will send to them and say, hey, share this with the team because we think this could be helpful. And keep in mind, we're not trying to nag you. We're not trying to overwhelm you. We're just trying to help. That's all we're doing in the space that I'm in. Because, we're just trying to help, because we do this work because we care about the industry. This is a phenomenal industry. And so we want to, give you some tools to help you continue to enhance your skill sets. All right. And so I'm going to digress and pull up Heshi to share a few things. I'll manage the slides. She's going to be about 10 minutes or so, but I always think we should always get a little bit of some things to keep in mind as far as our position and concern, particularly if you're a career coach or a case manager. But even if you're not, the information can still be helpful. Okay. And so Heshi, I'm going to put up the first slide. That's her. She and I speaking at a conference in Alabama. She was down there. She took over. She got higher ratings than I did. I don't know if I'm feeling that right now. How'd you do that, Heshi? Everybody loved her stuff. And I was like, wait a minute. Mine was good too. But anyway, but you got me by about 1 point. Though. That's all it was, 1 percentage point. But all right. So anyway, let's go ahead, Heshi, and I'll turn it over to you. All right. And so she's going to be talking about what does it take to help clients gain meaningful employment. So go right ahead.
Yes. Okay. All right. Good afternoon. Again, my name is Herky. And
did I call you Heshi? Did I call you Heshi?
Yes, you did.
You know
multiple
why?
times.
Because I have a friend called Heshi Siegel, and I was thinking about it. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Herky.
no problem.
I apologize, y'all. I apologize.
No problem at all. Yeah. So, so I'm had a background in a little bit in workforce, some corporate and some coaching background. And I just want today to talk about self-regulation skills and what helps clients gain meaningful employment. So it begins with the first step is for the coach, the case manager, or whoever is guiding the clients to, first of all, establish a level of rapport and trust so that they find a place of non-judgment, they find some safety as the very first step to bring in what is it that they are facing, what are their strengths and weaknesses, what are their goals. And then once that is established, it's always good to practice active listening skills, meet them at the level where they are before we go and give them a lot of to do, just understanding where they're coming from, and then check in their body language, nonverbal cues, asking some introspective questions like what's important to them, what has been their general, life history, what's meaningful to them, what is it that they wish to achieve or, get from the employment that they're seeking. And once we get that, getting very important to get the buy-in and commitment, because oftentimes, mid-program or midway, you will see that dwindle as life circumstances, especially, with poverty and its related stresses, tax, and often like help people lose motivation to continue. So there's this just establishing that at the very beginning, that even if things look confusing, hard, or messy, like we're there for them, and just finding what's their best method of communication and asserting the importance of regular check-ins, and that they can show up just the way they are. They don't have to have it all figured out. It's perfectly okay, whether it's just not feeling confident in the job application or the interview, or just not knowing how to fill up that form, and that's all right. And then just understanding their barriers. Some of them you may need to refer out or supportive services, but some of them they will vocalize, and some of them it's good for the coach to dig in deeper for any obstacles that would come in their way. You could ask upfront or ask some questions wherein you're able to understand what is it that would potentially come up, and so that we can come up with a plan of action already. Also finding out what is there in their current circumstances, who is their level of support. It could be a partner, a parent, or just a coach, or whoever it is that they find. And this support could be mental, emotional, financial, and just like telling them to lean into that support while they're navigating this transition or just applying for jobs, because it can be an overwhelming experience. Also knowing that they already struggle with some other things, this could be an added, so we want to make it a success for them. So that was for the
next slide.
points. Yeah. And then for the self-regulation skills, they're also called executive functioning or soft skills. Basically the ability to finish tasks, to plan, to stay organized, and to control emotions, which are important for success in the labor market. And we've already spoken about the related stressors to poverty, how they can hamper their use. And these could range from like just the motivation of, like we spoke about, to start, whether they're already employed or looking for employment, knowing their why, as their motivation to start and finish the task, the ability to persevere even if things get hard, why it's important to finish that, and the belief, because often the confidence has taken a beating owing to life circumstances, and their ability to, whether it's belief in their uh, ability or just belief in their, overall how they view themselves. I think the coach can go a long way in um, just shifting around some of those core beliefs, how they're operating from, and just adding to their level of confidence by constant like encouragement, motivation, pointing out their strengths and their skills. And they may not have had a lot of role models or people who are encouraging them. So often as coaches, we can play that big part. And the other part is the emotional piece. So of course, emotional regulation for oneself, and to be able to see it in the job. So with jobs come stresses, working together with coworkers, with outside parties, with bosses, and people, in general. So just understanding, first of all, emotions that run high. So when you're in a period of stress, what can you do? How can you take a pause? How can you identify what you're going through? rather than being enmeshed in that emotion and being carried away and feeling overwhelmed. Often the example I give is if you take a glass of water and pour a few drops of ink, emotions are like that, but often we tend to avoid them or neglect them, what's happening, because the sensations are very strong, and we quickly become the ink, and we forget that we are the water experiencing that ink that's coming in. So the ability to tolerate some discomfort with as the emotion comes and ride the wave is a huge skill, very helpful for not only, you know, in the employment landscape, but even personally and in an interaction with others. The final piece is the cognitive and the executive function, which is the prefrontal cortex, this part of the brain that helps us to plan intentions, setting and pursuing goals, versus the amygdala, or versus the primitive part of the brain, which is in fight or flight. So when you're under stress, you can easily get reactive, or you know, beat down yourself, or think or give up too easily. So to access these, you know, skills, the executive function, a coach can play a big part in that too, teaching them some of those skills. Also the ability to pay attention, you know, on one task at a time. You can encourage them, for example, they could do a Pomodoro technique, which is work for 25 minutes, then on this one task, and then after that you take a 5-minute break. Then work on the task number 2 for 25 minutes, and then you work for, like, you know, take a 5-minute break. So that gives them, or maybe, you know, some trackers, visuals, learning how to prioritize, calendars, to-do lists, whatever it is that you feel like they could benefit from. A coach could tell them, you know, share some of their resources that they have. And finally, metacognition, which is how we think about thinking. So not getting overwhelmed by the thoughts, but being able to understand that. Yeah, those are some points.
Okay. Thank you so much, Herky. I'll tell you something. That last one, I love how you said that. Thinking about how we think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's huge. You know what I mean? That's huge, especially in this space.
Yeah.
When you agree, ladies? I mean, think about it. Because how do we think? How can we think? Let's talk about that for a few moments. How can we think sometime in this space? Positive or challenging? Any answer is fine. It doesn't always have to be positive stuff. What are some ways, ladies, that we could potentially think in certain situations and scenarios when we're working with clients, or even in some cases, even fellow coworkers?
I often find that I have to think outside of the box to find solutions to the problems at hand.
Yeah. And you know
Amen
what?
to that.
Amen to that. And not only we have to think outside the box, sometimes we need to live out there.
Amen.
Yeah. And I always tell people sometimes we need to blow the box up because it can be intense, you know. And Bridget, I'll never forget a good question you asked. Like, what about those more difficult clients? I mean, that's when the metacognition really comes into play, you know, because now you got this perfect scenario. I've gone through motivational interviewing training and I know how to do this, but this client is a little bit more than some of that. So now I need to just pause and say, let me take a breather. And what's the next pathway forward? Because it's so easy in the moment, especially when you're dealing with some of the challenging situations, to not think about options, but to get caught up in the feeling of that minute. You know, I've had clients in the past that have done some things that I don't want to mention on this, and said some things I don't want to mention. I don't want to think that Coach Ho's life has been perfect, y'all. I've had my challenges too, but I always say, you know what, man, I'm just going to try to do my best to serve this person to the best of my ability. If I need help, I'll go try to grab some of my peers or whatever, and we can kind of tag team it. So thank you for that, Herky. And I'm so sorry if I call you Heshi. Heshi's one of my best friends, and I just got kind of caught up.
Hey, it's a compliment.
Yeah. She's one of the reasons I'm in the speaking field, because she encouraged me to do this. Her name is Heshi Siegel. She's retired now, but so that is a compliment. Anyway, so let's move on time-wise. I want you to think about this statement. Whatever I do not work on, I accept. And so that's why it's important for us to continually work on, how am I going to be the best that I can be in my space? Now, this is a principle that's not just good for work, it's good for life. Like, how can I improving. Like I'm a parent. I got 4 beautiful kids, right? You've heard me talk about them. I'm always thinking, how can I be a better father? You know what I mean? Now people always say, "What? You don't need to think about that. You are." You know, like, but how many? You know, sometimes you don't feel like it. I mean, you know, if you have kids, you know, people could say you're great at something, you don't even feel like it. You know, am I the only one that feels that way?
Oh,
Hand up in
no,
there.
no.
Put a wave our hands if you're there. But so what do? I read books. I get mentored. I have a mentor that's been married for 40 something years and he has 4 kids and he helps me. I could just say I'm good right now because my kids are doing well. And like today is my son's 21st birthday and we're enjoying him and I'm very involved, way more involved than anybody was ever involved in my life. You know, my dad unfortunately wasn't there. But the reality is, you know, I'm still working on being better. You know, working on I don't know say necessarily being better, but working on improving myself, learning new things. All right.
Hey, never
And
stop working on yourself. That's what I tell everybody I know, and I tell my daughter that. She's only
mm,
2 and she can
yep.
talk, but I mean,
Yeah.
she's not the greatest at talking, but every time she
Mm,
gets frustrated, I'm like, never stop working on you.
that's it.
There's always room for improvement.
That's it. I love that. And you know what? She's gonna be just like mom. You're gonna be to her like my mother was to me. One day she's gonna grow up and she's gonna tell people about that. Watch. But that's my
I hope
remember I told
so.
my no, she will. Remember I told you about my mother's story, how my mom said, boy, one day you're gonna use that mouth to make a difference.
Yep.
And guess what? What do? I use this mouth to make a difference. She was one of my biggest fans. You know what I mean? She was the one that supported me. But then on the other side of this, looking at our work, then you know, this is what we also want to do even in the workplace, just encourage each other. You know, we all come in with different things and situations and scenarios. And so, but never stop as a coaching principle, working on being as good as I can possibly be. Not that you need to be perfect, but giving it the best that I can. So I want to open up the floor for a moment. Since this July training, what have you worked on? Like you had that little sheet. You may have worked on that, I don't know. But even if not, I'm sure you walked away with something from that training. What are some things that you worked on that may be working or maybe not? So I'll digress, put that out there, and see if anyone has any thoughts. So what have you worked on that seems to be working, maybe a little bit better, or maybe you can
Uh,
use a little bit of advice on improving it.
So for me personally, I'm the QA here, so I do data for 4 different counties.
Right.
So my job is to mainly find errors if there is any,
Mm-hmm.
enter that information in correctly, get it corrected if needed. That's the main focus of my
Mm-hmm.
job.
Yep.
So I think sometimes I get wrapped up in my bubble, so to speak. So I've
Mm-hmm.
noticed that when I had your training, again, I'm always trying to better myself. I have a list of short-term and long-term goals beside my bed because I'm a little
Mm-hmm.
too into it. But um,
Yeah.
so one of the things I took from your training was, active listening and also
Mm-hmm.
something that was extremely important was instead of me telling them all the time, hey guys, like how many times do I have to say this is wrong, this is wrong? Was
Mm-hmm.
just getting to know them and just listening to how they struggle, why they struggle, and
Mm-hmm.
sitting down with them one on one, even though I'm not their boss, I felt was important for me,
Mm-hmm.
for us to work together and come together that way. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I really took away a lot, and it's helped the team a lot as well by making sure
Mm-hmm.
we were all unified and I understand them, they understand me and my needs, and we just move on from there. So it's really good, I think. I think it made a
Oh,
huge impact.
that's phenomenal. Thank you so much for sharing that because that's the
Sure.
goal. That's the goal. Like you took the training and you said, well, I'm just not going to sit through a day. I'm going to pull something from it and I'm going to work on it. And trust me, you know, it's going to definitely make a difference, you know, in your interaction with the folks as you're doing your QA with them to help them improve, realizing that's your goal is to help them. It's not to look at and say, okay, you're making a mistake. It's to look at it and say, oh, we can do this better. You know what I mean? This
Right.
is what we're doing. How can we enhance it? So
Hmm.
kudos to you. That's why you got a bunch of heart emojis just a moment ago.
Well,
All
thank
right.
you. I
And
appreciate it.
you know what I mean? So that's good. Anybody else? This is just a little family conversation. We're not being judged by it.
Um,
Anyone else?
I feel like I've tried to work more on reflective listening with
Mm-hmm.
my participants and my staff because I'm being a
Mm-hmm.
supervisor and a career advisor right now. So
Yeah.
I get to practice all of it.
Yeah.
But I think, really because my mind goes a million miles an hour and I'm just like, I want to get it done, I want to get it done, I want to get it done. And not everybody's brain functions like mine at that speed. So
Yeah.
I have to take a breath and
Yeah.
really center myself and focus myself so that my mind's not like as someone's talking, thinking about, okay, well, when they're done talking, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to upload that and then I'm going to send this to
Mm-hmm.
that person, of just like reminding myself that I need to be in the moment with either my staff or the participant and give them that full engaged attention so that I can
Mm-hmm.
really understand what they need
Mm-hmm.
from me or from the program.
Love it. Love it. You getting those hearts floating up there too.
Thank you.
And for those of you wondering how I'm gonna do it, if you go to React and hit that button, you can do a few things. Like you can do the
Ooh.
celebration thing. If you go down here, you can, you can do the thumbs up thing, so you can do all kinds of stuff there. There you go. So it's that React button. So what about you, Kayla? Anything you want to share with us? As far as what you may have walked away with from our time together? Can she hear me?
I believe this might be Kayla's first session with us.
This is our
With
first
Coach
session.
Steve.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So she'll
Hello
be
there.
doing the new one with the other newbies as well,
Well,
but we just
welcome. It's good
threw
to
her
see
on
you. I'm
here.
sorry. I don't know. It's for so many people. I couldn't remember who was there. So thank you. Well, it's good to. What do you do with the organization? Just out of curiosity.
I'm a career advisor.
Your career advisor. Okay. Well,
Mhm.
welcome on board. That's why she's probably like, I'm asking her, like, just tell us what you learned. She's like, I didn't learn anything. I wasn't there. So, but you will be in you'll be in the next session what we do with the new hires, the folks so you can learn some stuff there. So thank you. So though I'm still gonna give you some heart emojis anyway because I just feel like real generous today. You get these hearts out. So anyhow, so let me go back to the slides because I thank you for that. And what I love what you all just exemplified what we're trying to do here. It's not that we got to take 50 things and say we want to be good. That's always been my frustration with most trainings. Everybody wants you to just learn 25 different things and go back and do them all. Just take one thing, work on that. So from this training, like you may have said, reflective listening, maybe next time it's going to be summarizing. Maybe next time it's going to be open-ended questions. But this is important, and I'm jumping ahead of myself, so let me go into the slides. But to take one little thing and master that to the best of your ability. When you look at great athletes, you'll find something that they're consistent at doing. They practice certain things over and over and over and over again. Where the average athlete may just do it a few times, the great athletes do it a lot. And you hear their stories, the basketball players, the football players, or the golfers, or whatever, because they took the time to do what we call mastery. And so that's what I'm saying. That's why it's good to hear you all share what you just shared, because in our space, we want to have mastery when it comes to helping our clients, engaging our fellow staff members. If I'm a leader, like you said, very so articulate, my friend Bridget, just being slowing it down a little bit and being present. That's huge. That is huge when it comes to interacting with people. Because a lot of times people feel like we're just doing something just to do it. And then we move on to the next thing. And that's not how we want to do that. So let's go on. There's a few more things I want to share with you here. But thank you for that. That is fantastic. Just this is a way of overview. And this will be good for you, Kayla. Some of the things we talked about, just as a reminder. We talked about motivational interviewing and what it is. It's a directive, client-centered style for helping elicit behavior change. The ultimate goal is, and this is just the reality of our work, 90% of the success of a client is going to be based upon behavior change. Because it's some of the behaviors that they've embraced, and we talked about this during the training, that have impacted their neurological pathways that cause them to do things the way that they do them. So when we're doing motivational interviewing, it's more pulling stuff out of them than necessarily putting something in them. So they're kind of like taking ownership, and that's the goal. And then when it talks about exploring ambivalence, that's huge because now it's just those, why do I think? It goes back to what Herky said, thinking about the way I'm thinking. And it causes people to start thinking about this. So we're not going to spend much time because you've been through this training already, but I just wanted to lay that out there. We talked about what the difference was, you know, with case management. It's a case, and these aren't bad things. And we're not looking at this like, wow, these are terrible. But the expert advice is to push more towards the right side, where there's a relationship. You know, it's person driven. There's a dialogue. You know, it's about them. And then what we all talk about is efficacy and efficiency, owning their future. You know, and that's the ultimate goal of trying to get clients to own it. And I know when we trained our case managers and career coaches, it was all about that one thing at the bottom there. How do we get folks to own this? Like my mother did many years ago. She owned it. And, you know, here I am, a first generation college graduate as a result of her owning that space for herself. So, and then we talked about the spirit of CAPE. This chart, hopefully you got etched in your head somewhere because it's a powerful little graph. It really is. And I would love to say that I can take credit for this, but I can't. This is my dear friends. You know, when you speak to someone once, they become your dear friend, right? So Dr. Miller, who created this, he's now my dear friend. I only spoke to the man once, but you know, I love the model because it makes sense. And I think it was Luke. What's Luke's brother's name? The twins. Luke. What's Luke's brother's name?
Thomas.
Thomas. It was either Luke or Thomas. I can't remember which one. I think, but
Thomas said pace.
That's exactly what. That's what it was. There you go. Good thing. Thanks for helping me out. Thank you, Chelsea. There was Tom. I said that is so powerful, and I told him I think I'm going to use that. But he's right because pacing yourself. That's it. And so, yeah, I said, I can't remember which one. That's the thing. I couldn't remember it was Thomas or Luke, but he's right. And so these are just, you know, and you'll see this again, Kayla. We're gonna. I hope I'm saying your name right. We're going to go over this because this is a big part of the connecting my case management work to motivational interviewing and coaching. This is the spirit of CAPE, and I won't go into it all in detail, but you all know what that is. So I'm going to give you a few new things to think about, and then we'll end the coaching session, okay? And staying in the context of this particular message, all right? So, you know, we know what ORS was. Just again, as a reminder, open-ended questions, affirmations, reflective listening, and summarizing. That is the MI and MC in a nutshell. That's the big part of it right there. And keep in mind, when they created this was not necessarily created for workforce development. For workforce development, we took ownership. And I love how we kind of, matter of fact, when I spoke to Dr. Rolnick, he didn't even know workforce development was using it because he's retired now. He's off in Wales and helping young kids play soccer. He's not even thinking about this stuff anymore. And but I told him, yeah, he was really intrigued by it. I was trying to get him to do a seminar, and I'm still may try to work on that because I think it'll be good to hear from the creator of this process. All right. And so there we go. There's those guys right there. All right. And so 4 principles that go along with this, I want to share with you real fast. You're going to get the copy of the video. You're going to get a copy of the slides. This is only 45 minutes of coaching, but I just want to share them with you real fast because this continues to add to it. And, you know, like you said, Chelsea, and like you said, Bridget, even though it's different capacities, as a supervisor or QA director or manager, some of this still kind of plays out when you're dealing with people, okay? One is expressing empathy. And so the goal here with expressing empathy, which is a part of motivational interviewing and coaching, is to create a safe space. You know, now, let's be really real here. This does not mean a person has a right to be too aggressive or overly abusive. Like, we got to ignore all that stuff. Because if that's the case, you need to get somebody in and get some help. Because I never want to emphasize that, you know, a person can say whatever they want, and we're supposed to just be empathetic. If they're acting kind of a little on the edgy side, we need to deal with that. I hope you understand what I mean by that. Give me a thumbs up or a whoop whoop or something. Yeah. All right. So because remember I told y'all before, we're case managers, we're career coaches, we're not psychologists, we're not therapists, we're none of that. Okay. We can try our best, but the reality is some people need some mental health type things. They need help. They need therapy. That's not our job. But all things being equal, as much as we possibly can. Like I was sharing this in Texas, and I love how this one lady responded. She had a colleague that was dealing I think this was in Texas. He was dealing with a client that had some real challenges. She noticed that one of the case managers noticed that this person was having a hard time, and she walked over to assist. And she just basically said to this gentleman, "Sir, is everything okay?" She didn't disrespect him. She didn't say, "Why are your voice so high? Is everything okay?" And then all of a sudden, those words did something to him, and he shifted. And he said, "I'm sorry. My mom's sick. I'm taking care of her. I'm having problems with this and that. And I just kind of laid all this out on you all. I am so sorry." You see, so that was a situation where he wasn't overly aggressive. He just was a little bit loud. But he was dealing with something, and through this case manager assisting her peer and showing a little bit of empathy, it gave him a chance to have a safe space to share where he was, and it turned out to be a great session for them. Okay.
Yeah, asking the right questions, I think, is super important, because if she would have asked something else, he could have instantly got defensive, and it could
He
have,
should have. Yep.
yeah, the whole situation could have been completely different.
It could have blown up. She would have walked over and said, "Do you have a problem?" You know, what's wrong with you? Why is your voice so loud?
Right.
And I'm laughing, but people do that sometimes. You know what I mean? It's like what that is, it pulls away from what Herky was talking about. It's me showing those emotions in an emotional situation. And what that does is now that fuels fire instead of encouraging self-regulation in myself to be able to produce a better outcome. You know what I mean? So thank you for that, Chelsea, because you're right on point with that. Thank you. And then developing discrepancy. All right. And so this involves helping the client identify discrepancies between their current behavior and the goals. We talked about the ambivalence a few moments ago. And so again, that takes oars. So you got to ask these questions, you got to do all of that. But the goal ultimately is to get the client to see it. You know what I mean? Like my mentor years ago got me to see I had an attitude issue. My response, you're listening to me now, probably about 15, 20 years ago, you may not want to. I don't know. But he said, "Daryl, you're one of the most intelligent, bright young men I know, but your attitude is not going to take you far." I'm like, "Who are you talking about?" Who, me? No, not me. But I got what he was saying. And so he got me to understand, I'm sorry, this thing is all right. And he got me to understand I needed to see some things. I got this dream, but I'm not gonna get there with this current behavior. Okay. And then coming down to the home stretch here, and then roll with resistance. Okay. Is rolling with resistance. Yeah, I tell you, y'all in all the pictures. There you go. Everybody's in the picture. But some of y'all be y'all be in there shortly. Give me time. Yeah, is rolling resistance. This involves avoiding arguments or confrontations. We don't ever want to get into the warfare with clients. Just don't. Just we'll deal with it. It may be a situation we tell the client, we may want to pick this up the next time. It could be just different things, but instead of us, we're showing a sense of self-control. And rolling resistance. It may be the hardest part of these principles, but when done right, it works. And then it's supporting confidence is also, and that's kind of like the reflective listening, where you're saying, "Oh, wow, that's awesome what you did," or "Man, that took a lot to be able to go into that interview. You said you were nervous about it last week, but you went in and you did your best." That continues to encourage the client to achieve, to pursue it. And so, yeah. And so, so next steps, just analyze the ors again, maybe work on little pieces of it. Discuss with your team, make client connections. If you're a team, you can just continue the teammates. Just talk about it. Hey, how are you doing? How are you doing? Just kind of encouraging each other. Study these principles. You will get this video and the slides, so you can just take a look at them. And then don't accept normalcy. Be like those athletes in the Olympics. I'm gonna win this thing. I'm trying to win up in here. I don't want that. I'm not accepting this, whatever. Just give it your best. You know what I mean? And continue to work on you. And now that benefits the team, and that benefits your clients. It benefits your staff if you're leading, and most importantly, it benefits the overall organization as far as the climate and the culture and the things that you want to establish. So that's it. Any final thoughts? That includes you, Herky. Anything you want to add to the conversation before we let this wonderful team go? Any last minute thoughts?
No, I loved what you shared, and also the overall way of approaching things when you said like not just overloading with information, but gradually, letting that sink in. I know Coach Lee corrects me too, because I get excited too, and then he helps me to tone it down too, and just make sure we're processing. So yeah, some great reflective listening, and I like Chelsea what you said on the points of understanding the how and why.
Okay.
And yeah, Bridget, what you said.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And I'm just gonna go around next person, each of you, one thing like we just talked about, just one thing. It doesn't have to be anything major. Just tell us what you got, and you don't have to even tell us what you plan on working on, but just maybe one thing you got from the day. And we'll start with our newest member, Kayla, right? I just want to make sure I'm not messing your name up, man. Am I saying your name right, Kayla?
Yeah.
Okay, so go right ahead. Tell us, what is something that you maybe, I know this is all new, but maybe one thing real quick.
The pace was new to me. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, the cape.
Or
Yeah,
the cape.
Spread of cape. Yeah. And you'll see that when we go through our session. It's a really good piece for the work that you're doing. So, okay, Bridget?
I like the whatever I do not work on, I accept. I think that I always am trying to improve, like Chelsea said, and working for that. But that's absolutely right. Like if you're not working on improving, or you're not putting any effort in that certain area, then you're accepting it as it is. So, are you okay with that?
Yeah, there it is. I've been married, in 2 weeks, I've been married for 30 years, y'all. I think I've mentioned that, 30 years. That's a long time.
Congratulations.
Yeah, but I'm saying that for a reason, because the reason why we've been able to, and trust me, there's no perfect science to marriage. So I'm not trying to say like I'm the guru here. I am not, but for us, we've gotten over the years quite a bit of counseling. You know what I mean? And then we're not doing anything that's insane. You know what I mean? We're not doing something that's pushing each other over the edge. But we've gotten counseling because we need it. You know what I mean? Especially her. She needs it more than I do, but I'm just kidding. You didn't hear that. You didn't hear that. Don't say I didn't say that. Oh, that's right. It's being recorded. I'm in trouble. I'm gonna tell you something. Herky better not say anything. So she has a close connection. She can get connected.
You got blackmail now.
Herky, I got you now, Coach. And Chelsea, what's the last your thoughts as well?
Yeah, I was gonna say what Bridget said. That's obviously super important, and I catch myself a lot, holding myself accountable. But then also, I like to pride myself on being the person that everyone knows that I'm here, and they know that I'll show up to any office. Clearly, I'm in York right now, at the drop of a hat. However, that doesn't mean I can't improve. And I've been taking your trainings and trying to put them in different offices, and just kind of talking about it. So I think it's really important, and I really did love your training. I think it's great.
Thank you so much. Well, listen, that makes my heart feel good. I just, I love what I do. Some people do work like this, and they just, it's just another thing, another opportunity. I from the moment you all said you wanted our team to work with you, I consider it all an honor, because I understand the nature of the work that you're doing and the lives that it can impact. So I'm glad we can play a small role in that. So I'm a minute over. I apologize. I'm a stickler for time. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll be in touch as far as, keep in mind, I think the next training we're looking at doing on September the 19th, it'll be half-day training. So in the morning and in the afternoon. So keep that in mind. And Herky, thank you for your wonderful input. She's a great teammate. And Kayla, we'll see you soon as far as the training for the new members. Take care, everyone. Bye bye now.
Thank you.
You got it.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.